It's the 13th of November 1994. We're at the Adelaide Street Circuit for the final race of the 1994 Formula 1 season. It's lap 36 and Michael Schumacher and Damon Hill are very close to each other. Some of you may know what's about to happen next, but for those who don't, what's about to happen will be one of the most controversial events to happen in Formula 1 history to close off what's been a long, stressful and tragic season. But who are the drivers? Who are these two teams? What exactly happened in 1994? To understand the context behind this event, we must take a deep dive. This is Adelaide. It's been the location of the final race of the season for the 9th straight year now. Introduced as the first Australian Grand Prix in Formula 1 back in 1985, the track gained a reputation of being a challenging and tricky street circuit. With its close proximity to the barriers and soaring heat, the track has often produced races of attrition. Not to mention in 1986, where Nigel Mansell fell victim to its challenges as his tyre blew out in the final laps of the race. Nonetheless, the drivers love it here. The fun atmosphere is needed to end this season as 1994 has been nothing but dreadful. In just the third race of the season, Formula 1 entered one of its darkest weekends in Imola. On Friday, Rubens Barrichello launched his car into the barriers at top speed, resulting in lots of injury to the Brazilian. On the Saturday, Roland Ratzenberger crashed heavily in qualifying, which resulted in fatal injury to the Austrian. Then in Sunday's race, the F1 icon and global superstar Ayrton Senna tragically lost his life from a crash in Tamburello. It sent the F1 world into deep shock and the nation of Brazil into mourning. The podium and press conference after the race left an eerie presence, as none of the drivers celebrated and all they could think of was the tragic loss of their fellow racers. That's why many people just want to see this season over and done with. But what about these two drivers? What's at stake for them? This is Damon Hill. The son of the former world champion Graham Hill, the British driver is in his second full year in Formula 1 and at the Williams team, who's looking for a back-to-back champion. The year before, Damon sat behind four-time world champion Alain Prost as he watched the Frenchman cruise to a fourth and final world championship with ease ahead of Senna. But Hill did impress in '93. He won his first race in Hungary a whole minute ahead of second place, then 14 days later in Belgium, and a third straight win at Monza. And as Prost retired, in came Senna to replace him as the number one driver, with Hill as number two yet again, understandably. But Hill's won again in '94 in Spain, and he's already 29 points behind Schumacher. Michael Schumacher is in his third full season in F1. The German sensation, who was a part of the Mercedes junior team, impressed in his debut race for the Jordan team so well in 1991 that he was immediately signed up by Benetton in the next race after a dispute between Jordan and Mercedes. Benetton were at the time considered the best of the rest behind the big three of Williams, Ferrari and McLaren, despite finishing third in 1990 ahead of Williams. Benetton looked at Michael as a young star that could lead the future of the team into a period of success. In just his sixth race for the team, he brought home a third place finish, and by the end of his first full season at the team, Schumacher had brought home 8 podium finishes, which included a first career win at Spa. Schumacher picked up another win in '93, whilst the team were already preparing for 1994, ready to take on the challenge of the Big Three. And it worked. Flavio Briatore, Ross Brawn and Tom Walkinshaw had built a car that won 6 of the first 7 races, leaving Schumacher on 66 points, 37 points ahead of Damon Hill. Well, that must mean that this right here in Adelaide is just for ego purposes, as the championship's already been wrapped up, right? Neither Alain Prost in '93 or Nigel Mansell in '92 didn't have this many points by this stage, and they both cruised to the championship. Well, what if I told you this championship has gone right down to the wire? Immediately after the 37-point gap was established, Damon Hill won his home Grand Prix at Silverstone with Schumacher behind him in second, closing the gap to 33 points. Or so we thought. Schumacher was disqualified from the British Grand Prix for overtaking Hill on the formation lap, and then failing to serve a stop-and-go penalty, And as Schumacher led Hill going into the Belgian Grand Prix, Michael once again found himself at the centre of controversy. Despite winning the race, he was later disqualified from the race for having an excessively worn skid block on the underneath of the car, giving the win to Damon. Then to add salt to the wound, Schumacher was banned from the Italian and Portuguese Grand Prix for the actions in Silverstone. Hill would take advantage of the German's absence and win both races. The gap was now down to 1 point. Hill and Schumacher traded 1-2s in Jerez and Suzuka to set up this finale in Adelaide, with Schumacher leading Hill 92 points to 91. Schumacher jumped Nigel Mansell at the start of the race to take the lead, with Hill following behind him in second. It would stay that way until lap 36, where Schumacher, running comfortably in front, goes wide, clips the barrier before re-entering the track, just in front of Hill. Michael needs to defend this lead. If he somehow makes Hill pass him, he would have all but surely surrendered his first championship title. If Hill makes this pass, he may be on course to complete one of the greatest season comebacks in F1 history. Now, for the moment you've been waiting for.
That looks, Schumacher's off. Schumacher's lost time.
Yeah.
Hill goes by.
Oh, out goes Schumacher. The German is out of the Australian Grand Prix, and Damon Hill only has to keep going to be world champion of 1994, but can he keep going?
And Patrick Head there's looking at that left front wishbone. Hill shaking his head. He knows in his heart of hearts that it is all over.